who literally conducted himself to death. Well, today I want to tell you about a French/Italian composer by the name of Jean-Baptiste Lully. Now, Jean-Baptiste was born Giovanni Battista in Florence, Italy in 1632 to a humble, normal, middle-class family. He did have music lessons. He learned violin, guitar, singing, basic musical training that most people would have gotten there in Florence. He was mostly self-taught. Now, as a teenager, he moved to France for a noblewoman to teach and tutor in languages. This completely changed his life. Once he was there in Paris, his quick wit, his charisma, it drew attention of all the right people. His life really changed when he caught the eye of Louis XIV, who himself enjoyed dancing. Now, Jean-Baptiste was not just a musician, he was also a very good dancer, and so before you knew it, he was in the courts and helping out with the ballets as a violinist and as a dancer. Louis XIV valued control, grandeur, and order, and Jean-Baptiste understood very clearly how to give all of that through his music. So when he was in his early 30s, he had become the superintendent of royal music. Basically, this put him in control of the musical life for all of France. Although he was trained, in Italy, because that's where he was born, he rejected a lot of the excess, the frilliness of the Italian music, and he purposely was very controlled and very careful in how he musicked, and he was very French about it, which kept him in the position of power that he was in. Down through clear rhythms, elegant dance forms, balance and restraint, and precise articulation of the text. He standardized orchestras. One of the things he did was actually make it so that all the violins were bowing at the same direction, which hadn't quite been done at that point. He wanted standardization so that the sound would be very clear and clean. One of his greatest accomplishments and what he's known for is creating the French opera. Now, the Italian opera was very different. It was all about big and loud and music, where the French opera was much more about the storytelling. Also, there was more ballet and spectacle. It was definitely just a modernization in a way of what was already being done in Italy. So he worked with a librettist called Philippe Guinot, and they created these operas based on classical myths and heroic subjects. And this subtly reinforced the royal authority. Now, let's name a few. Armide, Atis, Percé. These works were not just for entertainment. Remember, he's working for the court, and he does that through music because that's what he's hired to do. These were pieces of political art, and they were all presenting Louis XIV as the embodiment of order and divine authority, which is exactly what Louis XIV wanted. Now, he was not just a composer. Jean-Baptiste was a musical dictator, and he wouldn't allow anybody in the entire country to produce operas other than him. So if you wanted to do an opera, that's fine, but he had to produce it. This is monopolizing the situation. Literally, he would shut down rivals. He would monopolize financially. He would control everything. And if it was going to be produced, all the money was going to come to him. So this made him a bit unpopular among the musicians, but it did make it so that the French style of music was very streamlined. So I guess there was a consistent national style at that point. So what we know of him was he was ambitious, he was clever, and famously volatile as well. He was known for his music, but he was also known for his temper, for his sharp tongue, for his maneuvering in political places. And he was married with children, but he also was known to have affairs all over the place, particularly with men. And people all over the court knew this, and his wife could do nothing about it. Now, in 1687, he was conducting a piece called Te Deum, and this was celebrating the king's back to health. He had been sick, and now he was back to health. Jean-Baptiste had a long conducting staff that he would beat on the floor to keep the time. This is before we had, what we have now. And he missed and went right through his foot, and his foot got infected, and he ended up dying from this infection. Although he was born in Italy, he had now become a full French person. He officially, legally. So, yes, he was born in Italy, but he is the most French of all French composers, creating a French way of music, not always in the nicest way to be, but it happened, and he created the opera as the French now have it. He was a great influence and not a nice man. For him, music was not just about expression and beauty, it was also about control and about power. But regardless, he wrote some beautiful things. So go listen to some Jean-Baptiste Lully.